Everybody, the audience, welcome to Historical Corner. Today, I'd like to continue our great literary journey throughout history. And this week, we'll talk about the early Middle Ages. Well, this time is shrouded in mystery, and many historians disagree as to when it began and when it ended. Some argue that it began by the fall of the Roman Empire. Others say it wasn't until the late 800s. All of this makes it very hard to delineate. What is clearer, though, is when it turned into the high medieval England, which we know from Robin Hood. And that was 1066. But to get back to the topic. Very few famous pieces of writing from the time are preserved. But among them we do count Beowulf and Dream of the Rood. Today we have historically cornered the matter, and we're ready to take it on with experts of the time. Grab a snack while we watch the video about a man who's a bit confused. I give you Born in the Wrong Time.
My name is Waldwin. I'm 17 years old, and I've been an Anglo-Saxon warrior my whole life. I realized I was an Anglo-Saxon warrior when I was 12 years old, when the doctors and the psychologists told me what I was. During my birth there was a change in fabric of space and time, so that's why I'm born in the wrong time.
So what exactly is it that you do that I cannot?
Well, I can behead a man with one hit, and one hit only.
How would you know this? You haven't tried, have you?
Yes, I have. I would have been no one if I didn't live up to my boasting, of course.
All right. Excuse me, what was that?
When I see a Swede or a Norwegian in the streets and publics, I get really angry because my instincts automatically tells me that they will raid my house and burn down my crops. They are all Vikings.
So, are you born this way?
Yes, I am. I'm born this way.
Born in the wrong time?
Yes, born in the wrong time.
Alright.
I love my lord. I hope one day I can fight beside him in a battle. It's proof that I'm a real Anglo-Saxon warrior because I love him so much. Even more than my wife, even though I don't have a wife. But if I would have a wife, I would love my lord even more.
So, this is my best friend Rolinda. She has something called personalities, and being an Anglo-Saxon farmer is one of them.
It's called schizophrenia, but so I understand that you were born this way, but she has become this way.
Yes, she was born a moderner, but something in her head made her become an Anglo-Saxon farmer. And me myself, I'm born this way.
That's wonderful. Do you guys tend to speak to each other in the Old English language?
Yes, we do. Sometimes we speak your language, but mostly we speak Old English.
Wonderful. And my friend, how would you say I don't want to go away from here?
Farm fram ikne ville.
And I understand you understood all of that?
Yes, of course I did.
Wonderful.
I usually try to hunt my own food. But I'm not very good at it.
So, what is the advantage of being an Anglo-Saxon warrior?
Well, I can do whatever I want. I'm very free. The laws for your moderners don't apply to me.
But surely there must be some guidelines.
Well, I can't steal, kill, or rape anyone.
Oh, that's a relief.
From my own village.
Aha, hoops. But you haven't broken any of us moderners' rules, have you?
As I said earlier, I can behead a man with one hit.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very exhausting being an Anglo-Saxon warrior sometimes because I hate Swedish people because for me they are all Vikings and I hate Vikings. and so I often get into fights because I live in Sweden. The psychologist told me that I can outgrow this, but I really doubt it, and I think I will be an Anglo-Saxon warrior my whole life.
So now, what we all wonder is this real? Well, is it really possible that someone has warped into our time? Well, with us here to clear it out today is Lydia, expert in Anglo-Saxon warrior culture. Give her a hand.
Well, thank you.
So, what do you think about this video? Is it really possible that he's an Anglo-Saxon warrior?
Well, I do not know a lot about fabric and space and time, but I do think he's acting like a typical Anglo-Saxon warrior would do.
In what way?
Well, for example, he's mentioned that he had cut a man's head off to live up to his boastings, and that is when you would sit down with other and tell each other how good, brave, and brilliant you were.
What is the point of that?
Well, today boasting might just be empty words, but in the Anglo-Saxon society, it was more like promises. When you went into battle, you were expected to achieve promises you had spoken about. And if you did, honor and glory followed upon, but if you did not, it was a huge shame to bear.
Well, why in the earth had he made a promise to cut a man's head off?
I do not know anything more about this specific case, but one possibility is that the man in question had done something wrong to his kinsman, in other words, family, and therefore he had to avenge him. If he managed to revenge his kin, he gained glory, but if he did not, it was a huge shame to bear.
That seems brutal.
Yes, it was too, but it was worked pretty well too. It was a safety to know that you would be revenged by a king if something wrong was done to you. As it said in the poem Beowulf, it's better for everyone that he avenge his friend rather than mourning long, that he who can win glory before death. It was a huge to neglect to revenge your king was a huge shame to bear. It was a mind of the time that you should take an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But if you did not want to pay the price in blood, you could give Virgil a gift as a payment instead.
Also, in the video, this Baldwin said he was very free. What exactly did he mean by that?
There was not many laws at this time in society, but we have evidence for at least one, King Alfred's law. It allowed any man to fight on behalf of his born kinsman if he is being wrongfully attacked, except against his lord. For that we do not allow. As you can see, lord was an exception in this law, and that is because they were the highest power in Anglo-Saxon society. The love to your lord was the most valued, similar to a Christian's love to his God. To die beside your lord was an honorable act.
But how come? Why would one choose to lay down his life for one who's already dead?
Well, at this time, most people thought it was alive after death, but it was the warriors who lived on who could judge, and they did. But the law was not as we see authorities today. It was more as an equal relationship between the Lord and his thanes and retainers. They would swear in their lives and give oath to do as he said and not abandon each other. And instead, the Lord would give his thanes and retainers treasures. But if the Lord did no longer win battles for his people, they could leave him for someone with more fortune. And it meant that anyone wealthy enough could found his own kingdom and live well until his resources went out or he died. Then his kingdom would dissolve if no one wanted to take his place, which anyone was entitled to do. Because of that, there were many kingdoms in Britain at this time.
Well, we have to go on, but to summarize, what was the most important thing for an Anglo-Saxon warrior?
I would think that would be his boasting about his bravery and his faithfulness to his lord, and to prove it to be true. That he managed to do it Sometimes got their achievements written down in poems, and some cowards are mentioned too. For example, in the Battle of Maldon. And that is how we know about the culture of the time.
Thank you, Lydia. Welcome, Sophie, expert on and literature.
Thank you for having me.
Well, very welcome. I'll cut right to the slack, but what could you tell us more about this cowardice and cowards, which Lydia mentioned?
Well, the man she spoke about was called Godric. He was an Anglo-Saxon man in the 10th century in Essex, England. He fought in the Battle of Maldon against the Vikings, and he was regarded as a coward after he abandoned the battle when his lord Bertnaf was killed. To run away, he stole Bertnaf's horse, and for a moment, the other men thought that he was taking over as the new lord. That was until he turned his horse around and sped away.
Based on what Lydia said, that must have been a horrendous crime to culture and to bravery, to everything. What else can you tell us about this poem?
Well, it describes a battle between the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons in Essex, England during the 10th century. The battle, it starts with the Vikings on one side of the river and the Anglo-Saxons on the other. Between them was a very small piece of land which you could only cross when the tide was low. And the Vikings were obviously at a disadvantage because they could only pass one at a time. If the Anglo-Saxons would have stayed where they were, they would most likely have won.
So I take it they did not.
No, the leader of the Anglo-Saxons, Bertnaf, he was overconfident and withdrew his men because he thought that he could fight the Vikings on equal ground. This ultimately led to his death, and along with him, many of his loyal men.
But then this is a story of defeat. And so what is the poem? The poem, what is it? What is the essence of it?
Well, I would say it's still honor, because the men are so honorable. Even in the face of death, they fight on. Even when their lord dies, they continue to fight. And to them, as Lydia mentioned, there was no higher honor than to die next to your lord.
I see. But is this then a recurring theme in other texts of the Anglo-Saxon England?
Well, yes, very much so. Just as our culture today influences our literature, the culture of the time influenced their literature.
Could you mention some examples of this literature?
Well, because of the Anglo-Saxon culture, they mainly spoke the poems, and not many of them were written down. However, there were a few, like the Battle of Maldon, which we mentioned, the Dream of the Rood, and Beowulf. But my favorite, if I can have a pick, it's definitely the Dream of the Rood. It's one of the earliest Christian poems of Old English literature.
Is it? Tell me then, what is it that makes it so good?
Half of the beauty of it is the story. It tells the tale of a man, a dreamer, who dreams of a rood, which is the same thing as a cross. And the rood tells the dreamer of the story of how Jesus was crucified. But it's different from the Bible in the sense that the whole thing is sort of described as a battle where Christ is a hero. He eagerly mounts the cross and he doesn't suffer. In order for his heroism not to be undermined, the suffering is moved onto the cross instead. After the crucifixion, the Christ's men come and they take him off it and they put him on the ground, and later in the evening they sing him a dirge, which is a sorrowful song fit for funerals. It's quite different from the story in the Bible because in that story Jesus suffered greatly, and also the men had to ask to take him down and then they put him in a tomb.
Why do you think this change was made?
Well, it would be terribly inconsistent if Jesus was described as this great hero throughout the whole thing, and then he wasn't given a warrior's funeral.
Well, you said that the story was half of the beauty in the poem. What was the other half you referred to?
Well, the other half is a deeper meaning. The end of the poem speaks of Judgment Day, and the rood tells the dreamer that it will happen, but he doesn't need to worry if he's lived by the cross and followed the rules of Christianity. But at the start of it, so basically the rood saves the dreamer, but at the start of the poem, the dreamer says, "Now listen, I'll tell you of the brightest of dreams." And therefore you can see sort of a pattern. The rood saves the dreamer, and the dreamer, his job is to save us, which he does by telling us the story.
And now you have saved us and the audience. Well, I thank you so much, but this is all the time we have. I say was very interesting, and I have definitely learned a lot today. Well, as much as I'd love to continue this, we are out of time. Tune in next week for the next episode of Historical Corner. Thank you.